I think, at least for this cycle, we've seen the low. I think when Secretary Raimondo, Commerce Secretary, Secretary Yellen, Treasury Secretary, and Secretary Blinken, Secretary of State, all met with their counterparts, I think in the last 6 months, that was real progress. Now, with the two presidents meeting, listen, China has a number of domestic issues that it's addressing in the real estate, in the local government, the consumer confidence. I mean, there are obvious challenges that China has. It needs to trade with the world. And frankly, the world needs China because China is, it's the second largest economy in the world. It's about a $12-13 trillion economy out of 90 trillion. So pragmatism, I think, is starting to kick in here. And there's been strong rhetoric on both sides. I don't expect that to completely disappear. But I do think that these two countries will continue to trade and do business together. And I think this meeting in San Francisco is pretty hard evidence of that.
I would tend to agree. Now, obviously, in terms of the US, we're having a very interesting situation right now in terms of the macroeconomy. There's been a lot of emphasis on the fiscal position in particular. Do you have any, I suppose, immediate concerns or perhaps medium-term concerns about the level of spending that we're seeing coming?
Well, you always got to worry about governments that spend more than they take in. I mean, there's not a rule in government that you should run a deficit. You're not supposed to, right? You should balance the books. It's sort of 101. But if any country has capacity to run deficits, and countries have to during times like what we've experienced during COVID, governments had to spend to get the engines of their economies moving and to give their people support. The PPE program in the US is an example. So I'm not worried about it directly like a lot of people are. In fact, a lot of foreigners seem to be more worried than I am. I remind people that when S&P was downgrading the US, Treasuries actually rallied. The US has enormous capacity, but this is not, it's not an endless stream. There are limits, and they'll reach those limits at some point for sure. So I think the fact that conversation has been so strong about this is encouraging.
This is going to seem a rather simplistic question, but do you think we've slayed the inflation dragon?
Yeah, I do. I mean, my simplistic answer is yes. Inflation was 10%. Wasn't transitory. There were some structural issues. There were supply chain issues. But now you've seen the numbers coming out of the US and the UK. I think in the last 24 hours, the UK was below whatever the projected 5+%. I think it was 4.5 or so. The US was now trending down. I think it's in the low threes. This is real progress, and give the central banks credit. They moved aggressively with rates. I think they were late. Just a personal view, but it doesn't matter. When they got there, they really got going. Took rates from 0 to 5.5%. The Fed did 5.5% in almost record time. Fastest rate increase in 40 years. And it's had the impact. Are we done? We're not done. Is 2% absolutely necessary? My personal view is no. But directionally, to be heading in that around 2-3%, I think is a very acceptable outcome given the cards that they were dealt with. So I give them credit.
Hi, I'm Emily Tan, and thanks for watching CNBC. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.